Top Hill Recording Podcast, episode 197. Our guest tonight, Buck the Taxidermist.
There's an older man sitting in his driveway, a pocket full of hands. Watching his grass grow green and tall, until the men come and cut it all back down. And his license plate says coal keeps the lights on. Buddy, he ain't wrong. And I can't complain, no, I won't scoff. There's hardly a day when all of ours are off. On our little street, the dogs bark and the children move their feet. On our little street, the trees all pick a day and lose their leaves. French kids on bicycles are doing laps again. Little mare calls from far behind, with 3 on a hip and 4 coming down the line. And there's a family I've never seen before, and they're blocking up the road. Little girl dressed in corduroy, and herringbones on the dad and the little boy. On our little street, it's hard to estimate the GDP. On our little street, the trees all pick a day and lose their leaves. On our little street, the dogs bark and the children move their feet. On our little street, trees all pick a day and lose their leaves.
Oh yeah, beautiful. Nice.
Woo! Man, that was awesome.
Great song.
Took a ride on a paperback, tried to understand what that meant. Little words of gray, birthday, how could I forget? And I was younger back then, and I didn't understand quite yet. I never looked at face red, the sunset on your back. I I turned to see bloody knee in the crimson track, and you were younger back then, and you used to run so damn fast. And I can't count the bad days on one hand, and I can't hold the good in the other, and I don't regret a single bet I made just to jump on it with you, my brother. Pigeons in the hay, birthday full of regrets, a rider in my hand, I understand, how could I forget? We were younger back then, we didn't understand quite. And all those memories shoot right through me, ripping my poor heart in two. When those memories shoot right through me, they bring me right on back to you, my brother. And I can count the bad days on one hand, and I can hold the good in the other, and I don't regret a single bet I made just to jump on it with you, my brother. Just to jump on it with you, my brother. Just to jump on it with you, my brother. My brother.
All right. Yeah.
The garage door is closed on the corner of High and Rose, and the sign reads out to live, be back soon. The YMCA takes the stress away, and the windows are fogged at the local subway, and hungry people stand in its view. And there's a lot of broken bottles on Maxwell Street, and boring looking people hear the same old beat. And from my third floor flat I hear a banjo, I see a cowboy hat, and I'm not sure that's the way it goes. The lights are low on the floor below, and there's a lot going on in its soft glow, and I do believe that someone's bell got rung. And I can caffeine on the corner of Old Vine, and people get their groceries to get drunk on wine. Do 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 do. And all the white kids go to Little Mexico, and they love to help, but they don't carry cash. The runways past the old Starbucks, and 10 or 15 taco trucks, and diesel motors fly black smoke fast. And there's a lot of broken bottles on Maxwell Street, and boring looking people here the same. And I can feel the caffeine on the corner of Old Vine, and people get their groceries to get drunk on wine. They get drunk on wine. They get drunk on wine. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Yeah, all right.
Notes and numbers, Reykjavik. Last week in the calendar when you're sick. Windows used far less these days, and the air's filled with the lavender stick. You held the hand and trembled on the gravel, pine needle carpet and kayak paddle. You held the tears and the notes of the balladeer, all along with the white dress and chatter. Foxy baby, orange-haired lady, Mr. Boy with the black tussled coat, tug of war on the kitchen floor, and half-rolled words written down on crumpled up notes. 2 cups of tea in a science fiction novel, PM 11:03. Making plans for Michigan and checking the kids for ticks again. And Mr. Boy barks through the screen. You rifled through the canvas bag I got in 8th grade, searching for the lost potato chips. But the driver swerved and you lost the nerve, and man, we're back at square one, where the air's filled with the lavender still. Foxy baby, orange-haired lady, Mr. Boy with the black tussled coat, tug of war on the kitchen floor, and half-rolled words written down on crumpled up notes.
Oh, yeah. Great tunes, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
How's it going, man?
How's it going? I'm doing quite well.
Awesome, man. So we just got a spectacular 4 songs for us. I always talk about it because it's always so good. Every time we get the song, I think I love the new format for that right there.
Yeah, I think it's cool just to do the songs and get to hear them. You sounded great, by the way, man. Like, I know I've said that a couple times, but the recorded stuff you have is phenomenal, and today was phenomenal too. So it's cool to see you stripped down like that.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, Earl's been talking about the recordings a lot.
I love the recordings. Yeah, I'm recording stuff now, so I'm very interested in good recordings.
Well, before we get too deep and get into your backstory a little bit, I think we'd be jerks if we didn't say happy birthday over there to the man with the plan on the switcher, my brother from another, Brad.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Cheers,
birthday,
cheers.
buddy. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
He said he can only have one because he's got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. That's what he gets for that's what you get for your birthday present when you get a certain age, you know. But at least you don't get, the full spectrum tomorrow, bro.
It does seem like you go to the doctor more often once you get to a certain age.
I mean, it's slow deterioration. They got to check on you a little more.
I guess I'm closer to dying than birth now, right?
That's the way it works, man. I mean, I am too. I would imagine. I don't live easy all the time, so I'm sure that one foot in the grave, 1 foot on a banana peel, right?
Hey, I gotta ask a question though. I'm sure it's his first question of every interview, but are you a taxidermist?
Not yet. No, I've had a lot of jobs, but that's not been one of them yet.
So what's the story behind the name? Taxidermist.
I just have a strange imagination, and I've had several different iterations of my music throughout the years, and I came off of playing like string music, the most recent from this project, and I was ready to have a rock and roll band. And I talked to my buddy. I was like, "What do you think of Buck and the Taxidermist?" And he was like, "Just drop the and, make it Buck the Taxidermist." And then I was like, "That's smart because usually when I start a band, people lose interest, and then it's just me. So then it can be a band or my own thing, and that's what it's been for the last 6 years."
The one thing that I do know, just visually, it catches you. Because long before you were in this room, I knew who you were based on seeing your name.
Yeah.
Probably not hearing as much as seeing it.
Yeah, today was the first time I'd listened to you. Like I've said, I love the music, but I've seen your name around a long time. So yeah, it definitely, the name is a good one.
Yeah, it's so non-conformist, I guess is a way to say it, and very original. And that's hard to do in the band naming or artist naming game these days.
I mean, that's I've seen a lot of people that have, they dislike that whole process, but for me, it's never been an issue with anything that because just in my head, I'm like, that's, I don't know, that, I guess my first grade teacher said that my thoughts are enough to entertain me. That's what she told my mom. Said he's not doing bad in school. It's just, he's on a different plane right now. And, so thankfully, and that translates to songwriting, I think a little bit. So, no, Googleability, it's pretty great. You can, you type it in, you either get like a buttload of taxidermy videos, or there's me singing sad songs about my family.
Oh man, it is ingenious. I am one of those guys that I would love to be able to. There's nothing better than coming up with a cool band name. I just yet to come up with one.
I am too. That's why I just use my name.
Yeah, you make it easy, huh? Somebody else was in recently, and they were just rattling off band names.
It was last week with Sydney. It was their bass player,
Jay.
Jay. Yeah, he had great
How about
names.
that, Brad? It took me 197 episodes to remember somebody's name.
You did it.
Terrible with names, man. Jay. Yeah, he was crazy with the.
He had a list on his phone of he's like, oh, I got 40 names on here, and he was just rattling them off, and they were all bangers.
They really were.
I was going to say my wife has a collection that she's been keeping since college. And for some reason, the only one I can remember right now is Hypothetical Utters. So they're not great band names. Another one's Conjugal Fishing. So there's some pretty good ones, but and then I work in a kitchen. In a kitchen, we have like what people say. You'll hear them say something weird, and we have like a festival that we've. I guess there is video, so I just did quotations, but there's a festival like of stuff that people have said. So yeah, collecting band names is a good idea, and we do it. Yeah.
I wish I had I can't think about band names.
No, I can't either. I always want to be like Earl Bowman and something. I let Spencer come up with a few, but they weren't that good. So.
Yeah, I've given him that type of responsibility before too, and it never landed me anywhere.
He hasn't had enough life experience.
Yeah, no, totally. Too young, right?
Yeah.
Well, man, we always like to start, especially for first-time guests, to kind of take us back as far as you can remember to your earliest memory of music and when you knew that it was going to be something that was going to be an important part of your life.
Yes, I grew up in a. This is probably very common for this area. Grew up in a pretty fundamental Baptist church setting, and like at our church we sang mostly hymns. So having like that background of like, for better or worse, in those churches, the music was the people that wrote those hymns were on a different level as far as like good songwriting. And so I kind of grew up with hearing harmony, even if I didn't understand it, and the way that chords and things work together in a setting. So I grew up singing from a early age, like when I was 5 even. When
you say fundamental, do you mean, was it one of those churches that was a piano or an organ and vocals and that's it, or was it one of those that had a band that tried to make it feel more mainstream?
The one with the piano and organ. Yeah. Okay. So we were like a independent Baptist church. And without any disparaging like comments towards it, it was, we grew up in a very conservative background, and so the music was conservative too. But for the benefit of that was we were getting to hear, Fanny Crosby and some of the early songwriters that were, had the hymns with like 5 verses in it, and you're learning like all these like augmented things and
that's wild, and
stuff that's in 3/4 verses. Like, every praise and worship band or song is like, people joke and call it a 7-Eleven song because it's the same thing over and over again. You can
GCD,
predict it. Yeah. But with hymns, you're getting like a taste of
hymns. You get the creepy shit. You really get chords that kind of crawl up your back. You know what I mean? No, they're serious. Like the augmented, the 7s, the 6s, the just stuff that that kind of just gives you that thing. It's not necessarily in that poppy, more mainstream, which I grew up in, more mainstream Christian home where they try to get you in with the music, which got me started in playing music. And it's very, very interesting. And the reason that I asked that question was because you said something about the songwriting of the hymns, which I found to be wildly interesting because nobody's ever mentioned that. Generally, if somebody started at church, it's because they were a kid that got their first shot to play on stage in a church setting, probably more in the way that I did with here's God's Not Dead, He's Alive, GCD type of deal, that got you into the feeling of learning music and being accepted and playing music. But to hear you talk about, number one, hearing the songwriter and then naming a songwriter and then talking about harmonies, because when you do have just a piano and that more fundamentalist Christian upbringing where the music is based on what is in the hymn, you play it like that, everybody sings, and you get those harmonies. I wonder if it makes you break songs down more at a younger age to where you do pay attention to what those lyrics are, because there isn't this big hoopla around the hymn book. There is literally that piano chord and harmonies, and I'm sure you didn't think about that as a young kid, but is that something like? Do you ever consider that not only was it an advantage to have that as a kid, to get that education, even in a that broad of a setting, but do you ever think that maybe even it was more important because it really allowed you to focus in on stuff that maybe people don't really focus in on naturally?
Yeah, I mean that's my first like performing music was singing in like the kids choir. Like even if we didn't want to, our parents made us do it. And so like you had the kids choir and where you were just learning the parts, and then eventually like if you took it a step further, you're going to be like either singing the harmony or the the main melody. But yeah, I think one thing I remember is like my late grandfather. He was a tenor, even though he was like 6'3", big guy, but he was like this tenor, and he would sing. I can't remember the song, but there's a part where it says "rolled away," and then there's this high part that nobody else did in the church. But you'd hear when we sang that hymn, he would sing "rolled away," and at his funeral, like we sang that song for in remembrance of him, and then like all of our all the grandsons sang that part. And the funny thing is, we always took it as like a joke, like it's Granddaddy was doing it, but he was being serious. But we were like, we always expected, over in that side of the church, we're going to hear Granddaddy do that part. And I say all that to say that trained me for like, okay, this is this has this part, and you got to make room for this in the equation of the song that you're making. And I think it's helped me when I'm like writing or producing, like to like maybe not focus on like we're gonna have a guitar solo here versus like we want contrary motion in the song, or we when the organ or piano is going down, then the voices are going up, like having like. So I do think of music that way versus now we need to have like and sometimes I think there needs to be somebody ripping a solo, but
Yeah.
I think versus being in the like growing up with a praise and worship band where like somebody's lead guitar or there's a drum fill behind a plexiglass barrier. When I was growing up, it was, I want to learn the harmony that my great aunt is doing behind me, and like hearing her sing the harmony part over my head and trying to learn that. And I'm still not a great harmony singer, but at least I have like the idea for it, you know?
So you're talking, these are just people in the congregation singing harmonies.
Yeah. Yeah. That was what was really cool about growing up in that setting with hymns. Anyway,
Yeah.
we could talk about hymns all day, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is the longest talk about hymns I've ever had, and I don't know another person that would have like even broken down the hymns like that and talked about the songwriting. I don't know. That's very interesting to me. Like, I mean, I guess like all of us went to church and stuff as a kid, and I always liked the more fun songs. Like, I don't know. So it's cool to like really kind of think about like just the actual lyricism of those hymns and whatnot. Like
did you talk about like deepness?
Yeah.
It's regardless of your beliefs, when you read something like, are you washed in the blood of the Lamb and all those things? I mean, how can you not be like, this is the most dramatic and heavy writing that there could possibly be, I mean, it's deep. So being as young as you were coming up in that system, it is interesting that you do kind of cling on to the lyrics.
I feel like that's not something a lot of people would do, and I think that's probably why you're a great lyricist yourself. Like all these songs that you played tonight, just the lyrics are phenomenal. So like you definitely can tell you care about the lyrics.
It reminds me, my mother likes to visit churches, and she used to work with a lady that was a Pentecostal, fundamental Pentecostal, like the blue jean skirts and.
Yeah, I think so.
So, but she went to church with the lady she worked with.
We probably just offended a lot of people. They're like, no, it's not.
But she talked about people in the congregation, singing thirds and fifths and octaves, and the whole congregation was in harmony.
So
people picked their part and sang different parts, and it really struck her because she had never heard that in church.
Well, like, dude, it's my dad when growing up in church, I was always, for some reason, had to sit in with the adults, and then always got beat when I got home because I couldn't sit still. Imagine that. Especially Rick Johnstone's kid not being able to sit still. You been around? You haven't been around my dad. He can't quit. He quit anyway. So he always would naturally sing the harmony. He would never, ever, ever sing the melody line. It was always heading to a harmony line. So I would grow up singing the melody line, and he would be right beside me singing the harmony. Always, even to this day. If he sings if he hears the national anthem at a ball game, he sings the harmony. He never, ever sings the main line. And my sister's got a killer knack for the same deal. It's like, and I'm like, I'm not a harmony singer. I have to find it and figure it out, and I can. But sometimes it's just, it's too high, it's too this, it's that.
You're better than I am, though.
Well, naturally.
If I start at the right spot, I'm good for the whole song. If I start at the wrong spot, I'm in the wrong spot for the whole song.
Well, the good part on harmonies, though, if you start at the wrong spot, you can just quit. You don't have to sing harmonies anymore.
So, Kyle, when did you start with guitar?
I think I got a guitar when I was in high school, which is early 2000s, and then soccer and baseball were way more important to me than that.
Oh, yeah, man.
And then when I moved to Florida to go to college, I had a lot of, it was either studying because I took a lot of hours, or it was, do I want to like go to the beach or just stay in my dorm and play guitar? And that's when I really started picking it up, was my freshman year of college.
Where'd you go to college?
Pensacola Christian College, which go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
So if you've ever heard anything about Liberty, college, if you got kicked out of my school, you went to Liberty. That's how strict.
Liberty's undefeated in football,
wild.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're undefeated in football
Really?
this year. Like, yeah.
So I mean, I went there. It was an experience, to say the least, and I made a lot of good friends. But that's when I started playing guitar a lot.
Dude, could you imagine my grades on a beach?
Oh
No. Can you go below 0?
Yeah, I went to school in Eastern Kentucky, and my grades were awful. There wasn't shit to do out there, and I still didn't study.
Shoot, dude, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine going to school at a beach.
Well, Neil, you never passed the class, did you?
Oh yeah.
You did?
Not at the University of Kentucky.
Well, that's what I mean. Once you went to college,
Well, I mean,
you
I
became
do-
a hell of a guitar player.
I do
though.
have an associate. I do have a degree. I do have at least a 2-year degree, but it was not from the University of Kentucky. They just stole my money. I think I helped them, like, I don't know, build something, but no, I didn't spend a lot of time.
Kyle, when
in
was the
class.
first time you played out in public with your guitar?
So I started. I guess when we got into like playing music, I didn't actually play guitar in the first band that I started, because we were Christian, like post-hardcore, like a metalcore band. And so
What does that look like?
I know, right? So the band was called Armor of Light, which is
the Lord.
exactly, yeah, Christian.
Yeah, see, I hope you only
That's the
did
thing
hymns.
is, like, if you look into it, though, the best of like the metalcore and hardcore scene in the early aughts was Christian. So if you go check out bands like Under Oath or For Today, Impending Doom, those are all
Impending Doom is
yeah.
a Christian Minogue
yeah.
kid.
And so if you go check all those guys out, like pretty much the whole scene that was of any count was the Christian genre, and that was like, circa 2009.
Were you the singer?
I was the singer screamer for that band and
How
wrote
does
everything.
That, I mean, does
well,
it hurt?
what's that?
Does it hurt?
I don't know. Maybe like long term. I just turned 38, so like maybe we'll find out later if it's like
Can you
destroyed
still
me.
do it? Let's hear it.
Nah, I don't think I can. Especially, I mean, right now it probably wouldn't hurt anything because I got like all this phlegm and junk in
Oh my God, you
throat.
probably sound amazing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Clear you
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, you got
Actually-
some like 16 more years of life in you, dude. You'd probably really be able to pull it off now,
Well, I texted the guys that I was in the band with, and actually the guitar player from that plays with me now. Well, sometimes plays with me. He was in my first band too. But I texted him. I was like, well, now I've got a studio. Let's just go record some of those like metalcore songs that we wrote when we were younger.
That's
And,
wild.
So only one person's got back to me. And it was the bassist who hasn't played in a band in a while. He's like, I'd be down. And I was like, sure, yeah.
So
Oh
where
my
did you go after your thrash days?
Then I got into like Americana pretty heavy, like early Americana. I feel like nowadays there's a lot of like Americana is pretty popular. But I was really into like the Avett Brothers. And I rode that train for a long time. Had a band called the Meadowlarks. And my same guitar player, he's played in every band with me. He played banjo in that band. And it was just shy of like Stomp and Holler. And then I joined a string band after that band broke up because I was like, I don't want to do anything where I'm in charge. I just want to like play rhythm and like help you with some vocals.
What was the name of that band?
That was the Sharecroppers. We were like a string band, and the mandolin and fiddle player and the main flat picker were really into like the Dead. So we covered a lot of like Grateful Dead. But bluegrass style, which was a lot of fun.
Get you gigs.
I mean, it works. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, as a great
Yeah.
name too.
Yeah.
Another good band name. Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, I want to start making like rock and roll, but I want to marry in with like, I actually started like songwriting whenever I was in the Meadowlarks, my Americana band. And I was like, I want to like marry the two of like, having some rock and roll elements, but also be able to do singer songwriter. And that's when, Buck the Taxidermist was kind of started.
So that's when you started writing about that time. What inspired you to start writing?
You mean from the beginning or?
Well, I mean, was that when you started like writing, or were you writing?
No, I was writing as far back as like Armor of Light, like the Christian band that I had.
All right, well, what inspired you to start, putting pen to paper at that point?
I don't know. I just thought that I could do it, and I think mostly I just wanted to be in a band, and so we started small, and like it was mostly doing covers. I think like before we became like a metal band, we were like covering Bob Marley and stuff, and then it morphed. Like we were playing coffee shops, and then that morphed, and and I don't know.
I don't know. The trajectory is crazy.
That's a direct line.
Bob Marley. We're playing Bob Marley, and that morphed in this death metal band. Then we were at coffee shops, and that morphed.
Wait, what?
No, I don't get it.
I think I just want to like experience what there is. Like I don't think I'll ever be good enough to be in like a jazz band or anything like that. But I want to like try everything, and I think that's what made me. This is the longest iteration of music that I've done so far. It was like 7 years in a row of Buck the Taxidermist, and I think it's because I didn't put so much stock in what we were as a band as much as I was like, whoever wants to come and go throughout the process, that's okay with me. And a lot of the inspirations for that have been MC Taylor from His Golden Messenger. It sounds like a band, and it is, but it's just a guy that he gathers people to him that are talented and are about that vibe. And then Eric Johnson from Fruit Bats is a good example too.
I love the Fruit Bats.
So it's like, they are a band. He has people that play with them, but it's, the core of it is himself, and he can. When I first started Buck, I was really I still am into Tame Impala, but that's where I started. Was like I wanted to make like this indie, lo-fi, psychedelic type thing, and then I found out that wasn't gonna. I'm not as good at it as I thought I was gonna be, and that's fine. Like I don't do drugs, so maybe that's a part of it.
Yeah,
that doesn't help, and so. I just started, like my natural self started coming out more and more with this iteration of what I make than the other things. And then I was like, what, that's fine. Like if I want to make a country western album under this name, then I'll do that. And if I want to make something that's electronic, I'll do that. And I'm okay with that. Like it doesn't have to be a thing, like one thing, and stay that way.
So it kind of gives you freedom, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And my personality is I don't know if you guys are into Enneagram, but I'm like, I don't if you ever study like your personality type stuff.
Mm-mm.
But my Enneagram's a 9, which is they're basically like the peacemaker. So they're most of the time they're trying to direct attention off of themselves, which is really odd for a performer to live in that, because that is my personality, is to like I want to make sure everybody, are you okay? Are you okay? Like everybody's good at the sacrifice of myself sometimes. And it's not I don't say that as like, woe is me. But it's more like
Are you a middle child?
no, I'm the oldest. But my brother's, he's like the strong-willed version. You know, he's a sergeant in the state police and like totally different, vibe than the direction I've gone. And we get along. It's not like that. But, he was actually in my hardcore band. He was a drummer in that band. Yeah. Yeah. But so anyway, I don't know what I was rambling about, but
Well,
Talking about personality.
no kidding. So what about like what does writing look like for you now? I mean, you start at a stage where you're coffee house to death metal. Well, I guess life metal is what you call hardcore Christian music. But to get where we just heard the 4 songs that you did prior to us talking now, and they definitely weren't death metal by any means, but they're super well written. There's something about painting a picture, man. You can visually put a picture in somebody's head with your lyricism. So how do you get, what did the evolution look like from you? Was it just life, or was it just taking, because even with the perspective that you have of Buck the Taxidermist being something that's kind of like, if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. If you want to play, come play. Whatever. It seems like a philosophy. You just kind of have to be able to have some type of, I guess, be a 9 with the ideogram. Is that what it's called? To be able to just, I don't know, relax like that. Where, does that make sense?
yeah, I think for me it was which I think a lot of musicians do, obsess over my craft, and so I think a lot of people have a healthy attachment to it where they can like, okay, well, I'm doing this and we've got a show, blah blah blah, and it doesn't matter. Whereas with me, I have to like make a schedule for my life, like family stuff. But in my head, I know in all my shows, I know in all my recording stuff is like, that's how like obsessed I am about it. And I think whenever I had bands and I expected people to be as in it as I was, it was a lot healthier for me to be like, you know what, I'm not gonna expect you to be as into this, and also like, I don't know, I don't have to worry about if they, which I like co-writing, but I don't have to worry about like they don't like this song. I can be like, I don't like, it doesn't matter because this is my thing and I do like this song. I don't have to. There's no democracy, and I do miss that sometimes, but I kind of like being the tyrant of like my own little kingdom,
Well, I mean, there's something to be said about creating. You're coming up with this idea and you want to see it come to fruition, regardless of, sometimes it's a lot of people talk about co-writing and the how good it is for them, and it helps keep the juices flowing and do some things. But there also is something to be said about sometimes you have to get what you have in you and in your head and in your heart down, and that's it. This is what it is. For now, it can be molded later or whatever. But there's something maybe cathartic or therapeutic about just writing something out, even if maybe it's not going to be something, maybe it will, who knows. But the freedom to not have to go, all right, now I got to take this to my people and get approval.
And in all honesty, I think it's 50-50, but I think a lot of times I do miss, like I'll see people in Lexington and Louisville and they have a band and I know that everybody's in, and I miss like the brotherhood of that and knowing like everybody's all, but at the same time, I know that they have the text messages or the Slacks where like somebody's asking and other people aren't answering right away. And that still happens to me, but it's less stressful because I can be like, I'm going to go do this podcast with you guys. And, nobody wanted to make the trip today. And I was like, that's fine. This is my thing and I'm going to do it. And, and it's been a lot of fun.
Shame on them.
It's okay. Everybody,
How dare
I
you?
think everybody in my band has, big kid jobs and big kids too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey man,
Bless
part
them.
of it, but you're right to be able to come do it on your own, not have to worry, not put those concerns. It's good.
And I think it's cool too that I feel like there is a freedom and like there's no pressure when it is just like it is just you, and so you can do what you want. You can come here by yourself. You don't have to be like, holy shit, like I don't have my band. Like you can just do what you want. I know there's some people that without their band, like
They're not comfortable.
they're not coming or they're not comfortable at all. And so I think it's cool. Like I feel it's nice to have like a brotherhood, but just I mean it's your project, and so I have a newer band with me and my fellas, and I've mentally kind of in the same boat where I'm like, at some point, someone's not going to probably be part of this anymore, and that will be okay. Yeah. Like, it's my thing, and I'm happy to have them be part of it. But yeah, I think that gives you a lot of freedom to just do what you want.
The average like lifespan of like an indie band is like 3 years,
about 3 weeks.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like I think I got so wrapped up in the early days of like, well, if so and so's not in it, how can we do this without them? And I think a lot of it was limitations of where I lived. Grew up in Garrett County, which is like you probably don't even know the county seat of Garrett County. So we were limited on who can, how many musicians are even my age have the same vision and want to actually do this and then can do it. So, I mean, like, so you have like all these limitations and then you get wrapped up in your head, like, well, I guess we just can't do it. And I think the older you get, it comes with the experience. You're like, well, you just keep plugging and eventually you'll find somebody that wants to fill that spot, or you'll just be a new iteration of whatever you're doing. And so that's been healthy, if not fun. It's been healthy. Like, forces your hand to operate better,
and it allows you to operate at all.
Yeah, exactly.
With that type of attitude and that type of hey, roll with the punches type of deal. If I have people with me, if I don't, who gives a shit? There is.
It's always something. Like something comes up, like drummer can't make it or whatever the case is, and it's good to not feel like, well, without him, like my music's shitty or whatever. Because like you were so awesome. Just like I talked about how good the recordings are, but just you in the room sounded so great today. Like really was just awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I had trying to get my life together for this gig that Earl let me play on because it's been so long since I played. And I was like, all right, I'm going to have this, I'm going to get this guy and I'm going to get this guy and we're going to meet yesterday. First practice, it already fell through. So that's it's like, you know what? Never mind, dude. I'm just going to do it by myself. Or I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play the
December 22nd. Is that right?
No.
December 22nd. Where?
Yeah. 22nd at Kaiju.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long you giving him, Earl?
Tyler Hood. Hood's on the bill too,
You can
man.
play as long as you want. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, I mean, what?
I'm playing like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you give me, man. I'll play. But it should be a good time. Yeah, thanks for letting me play.
Yeah,
man.
I think that'll be fun. It's good to do shows. It's cool to meet people. Like it's good to meet you. If maybe some point we'll do. I tell every person who comes on here, I want to do a show.
Yeah, let's
do a show sometime, man. So, yeah, really love your stuff. Talk a little bit about like I've mentioned the recordings. Like I love them. Like tell us about like how you recorded what you have out right now.
Okay, so I'm trying to think in what order. Well, I think like probably the oldest thing I actually have on streaming is Brother EP.
I love the song Brother. It sounds so good. Like it sounded great in here. It sounds great on the recording. I really like that song.
So the funny story about that one, I think I've always tell people it's like my favorite song I've ever written, and I have like an LP coming out, so I'm excited about those two.
When do you know when?
We are so before I came here, I was actually mixing one of the songs for it because I have a little home studio. So it's not. I just talked to my producer, and we're putting like a hard cut off February 10th. We're gonna be done with it.
Hell yeah!
Because it's been like 3 years. He's
man,
in a touring band, and
we've already talked about a Valentine's Day with this guy. Look, February 10th, he's getting ready to have the kid number 3 album release.
No, it'll be that's not the release, but it'll be done. We hope to have everything at least mixed by then.
So you have a home studio where you record most of your stuff?
I do, yeah. Well, about half. That's what I was gonna say on Brother. That recording was actually done. I took a I took a cassette recorder with me to a park bench. Do you guys know where Ashland is?
Yeah.
In Lexington, like the Henry Clay estate.
Yep.
So I lived on Catalpa Road, which is like where the Ginkgos are. And I knew it was a good song, and I got so built up. I was like, what am I going to do? And I just said, told my wife, I was like, I'm going to walk to the park and just record the song. And so the recording that you hear is actually just me on my iPhone.
That's crazy.
And
Really?
then put it on Logic and mixed it a little bit, added her harmony. But
That's cool.
so like that, and that's kind of how I always had operated. Like limitations are my friend, and so like Brother was done. I think I did everything myself, either in our apartment or it was in our apartment. And then except for one song, High and Rose, I did with Carson Childers. And then I think the next thing I did was Notes and Numbers, which is like more of a full band thing. We did that with Otto Helmuth in Lexington, and it was all live with the band. And then I came in and did overdubs after. So we just gave our drummer Jacob. He had a click, and then we just stuck with him. Like we didn't listen to the click and just kind of recorded it that way. And Otto's like really great dude. Now that I've recorded with somebody, and I've worked with another guy in Lexington too, but after doing that, I was like, you know what? I think I can do this, and mostly I'm limited by funds, and I have the gear. So nowadays it's kind of like I'm trying to do more on my own. But and the LP is I did with Zach Hamilton at like 5 different locations, Nashville and 2 places, and then my basement and some other places in Lexington. But yeah.
Well, that's amazing. It is. We talk about it from time to time, but it's amazing what you can get if you got number one, if you got a good ear and you can really know what you want and what you want to get out of your recordings, which it sounds like that as you're writing, you're hearing what you want. Not only in the songwriting process, but the recording process. So it's nice to have control over both those things as well. But I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably time for Weston's questions.
It's time. Hit it, Earl.
Yeah. So the first one is probably everyone's favorite. Tell us a non-music fact about you that you want to share with some people. It can be anything. I know fun fact is always like...
Fun fact is the hard one.
It's like, no one likes that question. Like,
you know why? Because everyone's like...
Because I do, yes, like I do music.
It's music's my fun
Well, I
fact.
wanted to ask him earlier. He already said he worked in a kitchen. I wondered if he cooked.
Yeah, I guess that is a fun fact. My wife and I took over ownership of the company that I've worked for the last 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And the name of the company is Sweetgrass Natural Foods. And the people that started it, Jacob and Carolyn, gone. Jacob's actually my bassist. But they started this granola company when they were... they had like a natural farm and they wanted some added value products. So my wife and I now own a granola company, and we're excited. Like we're just learning the business right now. But I've been doing it.
How long is this?
We've almost owned the company a year, but I've been the manager or somebody working in production there for 7 years. So that's what we do.
It's like, what,
and raise kids.
What does that
what's
look
the
like?
product? Like,
Yeah.
So we, it's natural food. We make a granola called Sweetgrass granola. We're in several stores. Back in Lexington, we're in Good Foods Co-op, and we do farmers markets, and going to be in a few like retail stores pretty soon. But it's just a granola that's made with 0 refined sugars. We have we sweeten ours with sorghum that we get from Danny Townsend in Mount Sterling, Kentucky, and it has Kentucky hemp hearts.
so it's all local grown stuff?
Yeah, it actually supports. I want to say, when we get our chocolate back on the market, it'll support 4 local farms and 1 farm in West Virginia. There's a sea salt harvester in West Virginia that they're called JQ Dickinson. They pump up saltwater brine from under their mountain, and then they dry it out and make a sea salt that's from West Virginia.
That's pretty cool. Non-musical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good. That's
That might be the
probably
best
the most
one, man.
interesting fact I've
Yeah.
heard on here.
So can you go online and buy it?
Yeah, sweetgrassgranola.com. Sweetgrassgranola.com.
Hell yeah, man.
And we
Badass.
I'm gonna have to try it out.
Hell yeah, of
I love
course.
granola.
I
We
do.
do,
I love
granola
chocolate.
nut,
Yeah, that's right.
dude.
we
I
do
love-
co-packing services too. That's like one of our main business models is if you had like say you had a cookie that you really think is a good cookie, you would bring it to us and we'd make it on a bigger scale
Ooh.
and like make it more efficient for you. So we're
Top Hill cookie.
there you
Top
go.
Hill cookie.
Yeah.
Very neat.
Top Hill cookie. We
So-
promised it's not laced.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It'd be a special cookie probably. Tell us. The next question is: tell us about like a nightmare gig you've had over the years, or just like if you haven't had a terrible one, just an interesting or notable gig that you want to talk about.
I've yet to have a good gig in Nashville, which is
How many times have we heard that?
Yeah, I know. Right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say nightmare, but just kind of like what gives, you know. But yeah, not nightmare. We one time at Al's, which is like
Oh yeah, I'm playing Al's next Thursday.
oh yeah, well
Oh, here you
Al's
go.
now
Here,
is a
give
lot
'em-
better. Yeah. but the one gig that we had, we were actually opening for it was Isle of Eight and Lilac actually, and we were the opening band. And on the last song, my guitarist Blake got done with his solo, and then no kidding, like the last song, like whatever 8 bars of the song, his little vanilla looking power strip caught on fire.
Oh.
And then the whole like on fire, like this big like plume of electric smoke.
Whoa.
And then
That sounds like the best gig
that
ever.
sounds badass.
and then the whole place shut down, and everybody thought that they were like they did that on purpose. Like how would we do that on purpose? Yeah. But anyway, it like turned lights out for a
My
while. but,
wife would freak out. She heard that. She'd be like, "Take all the power cords out of the walls. It's gonna catch on fire."
But Blake's been like shocked like 15 times. So I think there's like
Shot.
shocked.
Oh shit!
Not-
I was
not
like,
50
damn,
Cent.
dude, who you traveling with?
Like yeah, better not be.
Somebody
at
needs to
Al's.
check out Blake's pedal board.
No kidding, dude. He's got something wired jacked up.
No, there's been several times where he's
Blake is
He's, like, falling over.
obviously not grounded.
Blake, take your pedal board somewhere.
Blake, get it together, man. You're gonna die one day.
poor Blake.
Poor Blake. Or electricity around Blake.
Hey, let's ask about the greatest gig.
Yeah, tell us like a notable, like a fun gig you've had, or just like the biggest gig.
Guarantee
you've
it didn't happen in Nashville.
No, it didn't. I don't know. There's been a lot of fun ones this year, especially we my first like full band tour was this year. We did 6 days, which is a lot whenever me and Jacob both have 2 children, so like just getting our wives to be like, yes, you're allowed to do this, like, and like semi blessings were given. Had a lot of fun. Like we played in Louisville at the Monarch. That was a great gig.
Love the Monarch. We talk
Yeah.
about it every episode.
Actually, Mark's on next Monday.
Oh, cool.
So Mark's
Yeah.
going to be on. We're going to have all kinds of fun.
What'd you think of that place?
It was great. It was I mean, as musicians, we're always looking for like a built-in crowd that actually shuts up.
Yep.
And that's what the Monarch
It's the most
does.
attentive crowd ever.
Yeah. I mean, we played a Tuesday and it was no kidding 50 people.
That wow.
And
Quiet.
it was and it was the second best paid gig because we had a guarantee for later that week. But Tuesday night getting second best pay out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's all
tell you,
donations
right,
too,
hey,
right?
as we speak right
Yeah,
now,
yeah, I mean,
as we speak, right this second, I'm brokenhearted to say that Ellie Ruth's playing the Monarch and we're not there.
Oh,
She's playing tonight.
That's gonna be awesome.
I mean, could you
Does
imagine?
she have Fiona?
What'd you say?
and,
Ellie.
Shit.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Ellie, oh
Yeah,
my
she's
God.
great.
We haven't talked about her in a while, but we bring her up a lot in this podcast. There's a
She-
Monarch and Ellie Ruth are running out of 200 episodes. They've made probably like 25% of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
yeah, she and was it Chris?
Yep.
And Fiona.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were great.
Unbelievable.
One
Yep.
shot, one mic, one song.
Yep. Her original stuff is still just whatever, but it's crazy. Anyway,
Where else did you play?
St. Louis was weird.
weird.
Yeah, we played I can't remember the place in Mississippi. That was a really cool gig. Then played in Florence with my friend Mackenzie Lockhart. Florence, Alabama. Sorry, like close to Muscle Shoals.
Yes,
That was
that's a
fun
good
gig.
drive.
Yeah. And then I think like the coolest gig we had this year was we did Tall Sound. Like we kind of, which is like a mini festival they put on the Southland side of Lexington, and it's like this I don't know, mini festival. You play to like 500 people.
Oh yeah,
which is kind of cool. And that was with DOG was the headliner of that.
Oh yeah.
one.
Okay, I know who that is.
So those are cool ones from this year. We've I played
What was weird in St. Louis?
St. Louis is weird.
I got this.
And I have a lot of friends from there, but like
You
this,
mean just the city? or the
yeah,
place
like
you
this
played?
this gig was not. Yeah, it was just interesting, and I love the guy that got the show and all that. But it was just like, it was just it was the oddball of the tour. But
hey man, if you play 6, you're gonna have to have one.
I
That's
know
the
you got to
worst,
have a weird one. Yeah, yeah, they can't all be fun. Yeah, this year's been a lot of fun. I've been trying to like just. I've got a one, she's almost 2 years old, so just been trying to like chill on that and do a lot of like production for other people, which has been fun.
Yeah, you said you had a 2-year-old and 4-year-old, so you're busy at home.
Yeah, and the business is like new, so I kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez, you're raising all kinds of shit right now.
I know what's wrong with me.
Businesses and babies, baby.
I don't think I like myself very much.
Like, what can I do to occupy all my time? Let's own a business.
Yeah,
and
that's
get
a good
2
idea.
babies.
Yeah, then go on tour. All right, question 3. Tell us the last local artist you listened to or one you want to shout out.
Oh man, listen to Townes Turner just put out. His name's Dylan. I can't remember his last name, but Townsend's like one of those bands that people sleep on. They're based out of Lexington, but it's like his album that came out. It's got a car on it. I'm terrible at remembering album names, but he's just like one of those people that you don't expect to hear something like that from Kentucky. A little bit like like Bendigo or Wayne Graham. You don't expect to hear like that kind of vibe out of Kentucky. It should be expected, but there's a certain thing that's happening in Kentucky that people expect to hear. And Townsend's one of those like breath of fresh air. Like, this is something new. And yeah,
You're not the first to mention.
What's that?
You're not the first to mention Townsend.
Oh, good. Yeah. That stuff's great. And he's actually, he might be playing. I'm doing like a Green Lantern residency in Lexington this winter. And I think Dylan will actually be playing like, I have guest spots like every it's just 4 days, but and I think he's going to join me on one of those. Hopefully.
Nice.
He left me on red on Instagram, but he asked me to do it, so I was like, yeah, he probably wants to do it.
Yeah, he better.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But
read your messages, Towns.
Yeah, he's great. I'm trying to think of anybody else. I guess, I think he's the last one I listened to that was local. Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, for all of our listeners and viewers that want to find you, want to come see you, want to listen to your music, where can they find you?
I'm most active on Instagram and Facebook. I had TikTok for 2 weeks, and I was like, this is poison. So I got rid of that. I'm too old for TikTok. So Instagram, just Buck the Taxidermist, and Facebook, Buck the Taxidermist. And then if you want to buy things, have a Bandcamp as well.
There you go. Mm-hmm. All right. And for all our listeners, check out Earl on Spotify, Instagram. You can find us on Instagram, Top Hill Recording Podcast, on Spotify, YouTube, all that stuff. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, do all that, share it, and we will see you next time.
And vote for the podcast for an Appy Award. Yeah, nominated for an Appy Award.
Yeah.
So,
And Earl Bowman.
Yeah. Check that out, man. That's wild.
Yep.
So we'll see. Maybe for Brad's birthday, we'll get an Appy.
Yeah, that would be great.
Kyle, thanks so much for visiting with us.
Yeah, you were great, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Thanks,
brother.
guys.
Thank you, man.